Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back, and it is time for another Pro Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. We are going to be having ourselves a very good ZVP today, or PvZ, whatever way you want to look at it. The map is Everdream, and this is a dream matchup. In the bottom left, we have got ShoWTimE, the German Protoss, one of the top foreign Protoss, if not the top foreign Protoss out there, and his opponent in the top right hand side of the map, it's Aggo's Elazer. Elazer, a very, very good Zerg, and he's been looking quite good lately from what I've cast of him, so I'm glad to be able to watch Elazer once more. And of course, taking on someone like ShoWTimE means it should be a great match. Honestly, I'm excited to cast ShoWTimE because I don't think ShoWTimE plays in quite as many online cups necessarily as some other pros do. So he's a little bit more mysterious for me anyway. I haven't actually cast a ShoWTimE game in what must be quite a while. And yeah, so we'll take a look at what sort of strategies these guys are going to bring out. Elazer, he's typically quite an aggressive Zerg from what we see. He'll change it up every now and then, but it usually is quite aggressive. He's not necessarily like a late game turtle Zerg necessarily, or late game just straight up defense Zerg compared to Serral, although he has talked about how much he thinks Serral's style really is the best. And so he has done a lot of actually trying to play that style, but then he still has a lot of aggressiveness to him, if that makes any sense. ShoWTimE, on the other hand, he is referred to as the Wall, a very good defensive Protoss. I think if the meta favored it more so for Protoss, he'd probably defend most of his games, but the meta for Protoss these days isn't necessarily all about that defending. It's all about trying to throw the Zerg off somehow, maybe bring out something a little new, or just straight up execute like an aggressive build better than your opponent can handle it. And so that's why I'm excited to see what sort of build a good Protoss player like ShoWTimE will pull out. I think it's going to be a Stargate for ShoWTimE, probably just going to be throwing that up in the face of Elazer's Overlord. Not much you can do about that. The Stargate actually gets queued down at the natural just to hide it from that Overlord. So a bit of an interesting choice there from ShoWTimE. Had to send the probe down. Took a little bit of an extra second, but then it denies Elazer the scout right away, which is good for ShoWTimE. These two lings might run on in. ShoWTimE has a probe blocking Elazer's natural, which is actually quite sneaky. A bit risky for that probe to be going in there, but nope, gonna be delaying Elazer's third a little bit longer, which is quite a nice play from ShoWTimE, so bringing a little bit of cheekiness. And with those two adepts, he actually did deny Elazer's scout on the Stargate, so Elazer's flying blind a little bit, which is always a good thing for the Protoss. It's not like Elazer's gonna forego Spore Crawlers because he hasn't seen a Stargate. That's not the meta anymore, and it hasn't been for quite a while. Zergs will always get their spores. They'll always play defensive to just survive the early game, and then they'll branch out. So this Oracle's on the way for ShoWTimE, but I do fully expect Elazer to be throwing up spores pretty soon, and there we go, spores on the way. He's not 100% sure of what ShoWTimE's going for. He's like, it could be something to do with maybe like mass charge lots or adepts or whatever, so the Roach Horn goes up already a little bit earlier than usual, but then he actually cancels that. And he cancels it because he actually saw the Oracle. So very notable that Elazer was only going for the early Roach Warren in order to basically defend against the mystery of the unknown threat. And so once Elazer identifies that, like, oh, it is a Stargate, all I need is a couple spores and my queens to be in position, then he's just laughing. So very, very good way to look at it when you think about how the pros pick what build they do. Elazer playing very safe by building out Roach Warren. Some Zergs might have just been like, whatever, no big deal. However, yes, Elazer showing a lot of maturity when it comes to just being prepared for anything. So now we take a look. ShoWTimE, of course, his Stargate play didn't necessarily get too much done. He's notably going up for a third Oracle, though. I honestly don't mind this. I think Oracles are very good for Protoss, as opposed to warping in like a few more adepts or zealots if you need to defend your third base or something. Having the oracles on hand is really good. ShoWTimE, though, not able to get a single thing done with his oracles yet. Elazer is just so good at defending against these oracles. Like, not a single kill. And usually an oracle will be able to get 1 or 2 kills at the bare minimum. But Elazer is doing a great job of defending against that. He's also trying to scout out with this Overlord now. Elazer will see the Forge. He hasn't seen the Robo just yet. But he can probably assume it's the standard follow-up to a Twilight Council. Meanwhile, the 3 oracles for ShoWTimE are going to go in. He wants to get some drones. It's going to cost him, though. One of the oracles goes down. For 6 drones, it's not a bad trade. However, it is a late trade. Usually, if you're going to trade an oracle for 6 drones, you'd probably want that to happen earlier in the game. Whereas, we're about 6 minutes into the game now. Elazer's already on a 54 drone economy, so in the grand scheme of things, those 6 drones won't slow him down nearly as much as a couple of earlier drones would have. Ling's trying to grab themselves. Whoa! Ling's trying to grab themselves a probe, but great force fields from ShoWTimE secures all those kills. So ShoWTimE showing us he's playing hot, even if he's not getting a lot done with these oracles. So that is really cool to see. Looks like ShoWTimE wanted to throw up a stasis ward. He will throw that up. Elazer gonna perfectly bait that out. Even does the trick to keep the drone from getting stasis. I'm not sure on the math of that, whether it's worth it. It's 25 minerals or whatever, or 13 minerals or something to turn into that spore and then cancel. But I think that's just a Zerg player flexing a little bit, doing that to bait out that stasis and then even keep the drone from getting stasis. Ladies and gentlemen, though, we are about 7 minutes into the game, and ShoWTimE's about to maybe go for a big push or a fake push. We'll see. But make sure to slap that like button. We're at 101 supply for ShoWTimE and 101 supply for Elazer just a second ago. So let's try and hit 101 likes on this video. If we could do that, that would be awesome. You guys showing your support for the pro commentaries, for bringing out guys like Elazer and ShoWTimE into the videos. So pretty much hit the like button if you're a fan of ShoWTimE and Elazer, or just Starcraft in general. Now, we see photon cannons going up pretty much at every base for ShoWTimE. I like this. He's not aware of whether it's going to be mutas or not. He is getting up charge, so it's not like he's got blink or anything, so I like the precaution. Really good to see. Also getting up a 4th base, which is exciting because it means the game's probably going to go a little bit longer than your typical PvZ. ShoWTimE, he's also still just got Archons, Immortals, and Sentries. ShoWTimE pulling back for now, obviously not committing to a real attack. And starting to feel the pressure a little bit by Elazer, who's starting to have his creep inch out onto the map. Even trying to drop some Banelings on ShoWTimE's army, take out those vulnerable sentries, but I think he just hit the Adepts there. ShoWTimE going for one of the classic Protoss Zealot counterattacks, aiming for the Queen for starters. For his sake, hopefully going to be catching a few of these drones. Gets the Queen, 4 drones in all. Forcing a response from Elazer is nice as long as he keeps the Prism alive. And then Psystorm is on the way for ShoWTimE. Very important. A bunch of Zealots and Stalkers have to warp in. A good bait by Elazer, a risky bait by Elazer, using a very injured Overlord to try and harass ShoWTimE to return the favor. So these guys really testing each other so far this game. Psystorm is on the way, though, for ShoWTimE. I can't emphasize that enough. It really helps when it comes to dealing with the Lingbane Hydra armies, which Elazer is very comfortable with. Someone like ShoWTimE, though, versed against that style quite well. He's got sentries. I have no doubt that he'll use his force fields properly. He's got oracles that are dropping stasis wards all over the place. Another tool to prevent the Zerg just committing in. But oh, it looks like ShoWTimE's Prism went down. That's a mistake. You want to keep that alive. Prisms are not cheap, ladies and gentlemen. To build a warp prism again and again, it quickly adds up, particularly when you're warping in rounds of Zealots with it too. It's a lot of minerals. ShoWTimE is rebuilding that, though, building another prism. +2 attack is on the way for ShoWTimE, so both players going to be heading towards their level 2 upgrade. Benefits the Protoss a little bit more, seeing as how Elazer is just on the 1 Evo. It's not like he's getting missile attack for the Hydras too. So ShoWTimE will have better upgrades in a roundabout sense. couple of Zealots going to try and engage those Hydras. The Hydras, I feel, maybe could have taken those on, but Elazer just pulling back to be safe as ShoWTimE is looking to expand, taking a 5th base. Then just playing defensive. He's got a very good wall here, blocking his 3rd. He's got cannons blocking a frontal attack. The next attack location could be here, though, as Elazer's looking to move on in to crush ShoWTimE's 5th base. Shutting this down could be the start of something good for Elazer. If you can shut it down once, twice, and again, that's quickly how you wear down a Protoss player, and ShoWTimE really isn't in position to defend this. He warped in a bunch of Zealots, but Zealots do not want anything to do with those Banelings, as they're going to take some big connections. A lot of the Banelings will be taken out, so a bit costly for Elazer, but shutting down the 5th base to ShoWTimE, I feel, is absolutely worth it. ShoWTimE, while this is going on, was going for a big Zealot counterattack, but Elazer pretty much prepared for this. He's having to run his Lings away till there's a few more to help out. And then those Zealots will get shut down. So an expensive counterattack for ShoWTimE. He's got to be careful about investing into those. However, part of playing Protoss is just throwing attacks at the Zerg till one sticks. And we're even going to be seeing ShoWTimE move out on the map, I guess, feeling pretty comfortable that Elazer traded out most of his Banelings. And the standing army for Elazer isn't that terrifying until those Banelings complete, which they just did. So ShoWTimE's got to be more careful, because all it takes is some Banelings to get to the juicy center of the Protoss army, and that can be that. Taking out those High Templar and Sentries suddenly leaves the Protoss army very vulnerable. A couple of Corruptors were made as well for Elazer, going to be taking down that Prism, which really nice not having to worry about that. And while this is going on, Elazer is teching into the Broodlords, which are an endgame tech for the Zerg. They force the Protoss' hand to either go into mass carriers, Tempest, something that counters the Void Rays, which is not too comfortable for Protoss these days. If a Protoss was to do it, I'd say ShoWTimE would be one of them, but I get the feeling he doesn't just want to turtle up on carriers and such. High Templar got to be careful dodging those Banelings. A lot of Zealots get taken out. The 5th base for ShoWTimE is still standing, but not unharassed. ShoWTimE has his Oracles constantly tagging the Zerg army to identify the move-outs. The Mothership is still on the way. There's even a couple of Hydras in the main base of ShoWTimE. May have to do something about that, but the game's continuing on. Very, very, equal ZVP, it would seem, so far. Both players have been throwing aggression at each other, but nothing really has stuck. Nothing has done critical damage to give either player a super definitive advantage. Elazer, he's just going to be getting up towards the 6th base, so the player's kind of equal on bases for now, which is generally considered good for the Protoss. Those Hydras in the main base going to be getting cleaned on up. Elazer is still just testing ShoWTimE everywhere, but ShoWTimE, a very good defensive Protoss, is doing well. However, he may have just been a bit too far out of position. This 5th base having tons of Lings and Banes roll towards it, but the Archons will happily eat those Baneling shots, though, as the Banes are rolling and rolling and rolling forward. Elazer being very careful not to just let them crash into Archons, so he's doing a good job there. The High Templar are staying alive, but the 5th base of ShoWTimE is not. Elazer picks that off. Very well done. We're seeing a Stargate, an extra Stargate, go up for ShoWTimE, so maybe he is thinking Tempest or Carriers or something of the like. But for now, he's just going to rock it with his Mothership, warping a bunch more Archons, and then maybe try and push the Zerg, because that Broodlord clock is ticking down. Elazer, he's already made a couple of Broodlords. There we go, he's got 2 morphing, but there could very well be more on the way. And as the Protoss player, you do not want to be caught unprepared to deal with Broodlords, as you will simply just lose the game. And oh, Elazer with another counterattack or another attack, hitting that 5th base, forcing ShoWTimE to pull home to deal with that. ShoWTimE's like, yeah, I'm killing Zerglings, but for Elazer, he's more than happy just to buy time. He's going to be morphing 7 Broodlords, which is all that he's going to need to force ShoWTimE's hand. I don't think there's a chance for ShoWTimE to break through the 9 Broodlords that Elazer will have, as the Broodlords, they're just so good against Archons because of their range. There's not a lot of Link Stalkers here for ShoWTimE. He doesn't even have armor, really, for them, so if he warps in Stalkers, they will be very, very weak. And I'm not sure what ShoWTimE should do. The Broodlords are coming on in. He's got to be like, I have Archons and some Psystorm. I'm a believer fully in taking on Broodlords with, say, Stalkers, Psystorm, and Archons, but Elazer is just such a good Zerg. I think he's going to be very careful about covering his units. Look at this. He's not just going for an immediate attack. He's getting out Infestors, which will really shut down ShoWTimE pouncing on top of that army, more so than the Hydraling Bane. All the while, he's also keeping the counter attacks going on to ShoWTimE, so ShoWTimE is just getting put in a very rough spot. He's having to push in because he knows he can't just let him be pressured nonstop. A bunch of Stalkers were warped in for ShoWTimE, but good luck Stalkers trading against Hydras, as the Stalkers simply don't cut it. Zealots warping in will help out. Maybe, no, this is still simply just too much Zerg in this counterattack. The players are also focused on this big attack towards the front. ShoWTimE has Psystorm. He can maybe take out the Infestors, but the Infestors tossing down fungal growth, locking down ShoWTimE's army. The only... I mean, the Mothership could maybe help out against the Broodlords. We see a Time Warp get thrown down. Those Broodlords are actually slowed by the Time Warp. So great usage of that spell by ShoWTimE, but there's simply not enough on the ground to push into the Broodlords after the fight is done, after most of what's on the ground has been cleared up. ShoWTimE still has to retreat. He's going to try and Psystorm the Broodlords, getting a lot of damage separated all over those Broodlords, really softening them up, but there just isn't that much left for ShoWTimE, and he's forced back. His supply has plummeted. He hasn't really secured his 5th base this entire game. And now ShoWTimE is in a world of hurt, not mining enough gas, really needs to saturate that gas, even though there's not much left at it. He needs to get this base up, but Elazer is already planning on shutting it down. ShoWTimE not in position to defend this, and Elazer has knocked down this 5th base again and again, and he's gonna get it. You heard it, again. So this is looking really, really good for Elazer. ShoWTimE hasn't built up to that carrier, Psystorm, Mothership army that you need. And now his army is just worse than what he needs to deal with the Broodlords. Elazer is playing it quite passive for now, but he knows he's in control of the game. He can afford to go for these big baitling attacks time and time again. This one not going to get too much done, but Elazer's still happy with this, I think, just keeping the pressure on the Protoss player. ShoWTimE rebuilding his 5th base for gosh knows how many times. I mean, 2 Nexus have died. How many have been canceled, though? That's the question. We're even seeing Neural Parasite get out for Elazer. I mean, the Infestors can just sort of take over ShoWTimE's army. Then Burrow as well for those Infestors. Spine Crawlers en masse, because Elazer's like, I know you can't take me on head-on, so he's going to be getting up all these spines to defend his bases, defend his flanks, and we are seeing ShoWTimE plan on attacking one of those flanks, and thanks to these spines, that's really going to help defend this location. Look at that. So many spines to bog this army up. A couple of good fungal growths hitting ShoWTimE's army would be huge, and all these zealots, they're just going to melt under that green goo if ShoWTimE commits to a fight. I mean, ShoWTimE, he's got Stalkers, he's got Psystorm, but he's really got no way of actually getting underneath the Broodlords. He's committing to this attack. It's a very risky one. There's just no way he can break this location. He's going to get the hatchery, but it was almost mined out anyway, and now he's got to retreat, but the Lings and Hydras of Elazer are going to try and surround this, cut it off. ShoWTimE is backed into a corner. He Psystorms the Lings, which is a good start. I think he may just need to recall this army. He's desperately trying to escape. Probably needs to Psystorm the Broodlords if he can. Just cover his retreat. I mean, we see more Zealots warping in. More Zealots warping in for ShoWTimE, but they're not really going to help out against the Broodlords. There's Infestors underneath these. This army of ShoWTimE is very susceptible to fungal, and I think we're going to be seeing that again. We see feedback go down on the Infestors, but oh man, these Stalkers, they can't blink when they're under the fungal. ShoWTimE losing so much of his army, and he is without a doubt dead here, as he's still not even really mining at this 5th base, and Elazer has played a very, very good ZVP. ShoWTimE was just not prepared for the later game tech, it would seem. And yeah, Elazer having a very solid plan in mind how to play this game, and he executed it very well. So, I mean, I'm going to start doing the outro here. ShoWTimE is pretty dead. He lost his 5th base yet again. Oh man, he's attacking all these bases, but once these attacks fizzle out, that'll be it. There's no way he can deal with, gosh, that's like 16 Broodlords. It is 16 Broodlords, in fact. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. If we can hit 101 likes for this epic ZVP, that would be great. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord if you haven't already. I mean, we may be announcing like a viewer tournament or just the next Africa World and stuff coming up. And then follow me on Twitter if you haven't. And big thanks to those of you who support the channel via the memberships program. It does go a long way to helping me keep doing these videos, keeps me motivated. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.